the city with the highest death rate in the country. Streets typically vibrant with music and tourists empty tonight. Meantime, the hospitals are filled and rapidly running out of supplies. 15 years after Hurricane Katrina, residents are hunkered down once again in their homes, weathering a radically different storm.
Heard about what happened with your sister's mill. Sorry about that. I gotta ask, man, we still got jobs or not?
I guess I'm gonna go with frustrating. That's a good word, because it came and it was such a, it was out the blue. Like oftentimes you could see we were not prepared for this at all. I mean, just even in the structure, if you look at how we are educated, you learn about all these things like the chicken pox and the measles and AIDS and all this stuff. But the notion or the thought of a pandemic, it's like an unknown. You feel me? So when it hit, at first, you're thinking, I feel like we didn't take it seriously because we didn't even have a true grasp on what it was. And I was one of those people of like, okay, it's gonna be whatever, we'll be back to it. But then next thing you know, they start closing the schools, and then they start closing this, and they start closing that, and then productions are down, and then they're like, all auditions are canceled. And then you have all these random projections of, oh, we might be doing this until June, we might be doing this till the fall, we might not have things together till 2021. And for somebody that's getting by off the gig life, and by somebody who's used to having like auditions daily, because when those auditions stop, it's like, okay, it's like the faucet truly is cut off.
Black people have been 30% of the deaths from the coronavirus, COVID-19, despite the fact that we are only 13.4% of the population.
And that's not because of the way that the virus attacks, but because of the circumstances that certain communities have had to endure for generations.
The health disparities puts them at risk for diseases much more so than the general population.
This virus really shows the equity issues, the difference between the poor, the large gap between the poor and the rich. You know what I mean? A rich person can tell you, hey, just quarantine on a mansion, chilling with all the money and the food in the world, but you in your house barely with anything. And you're like, what the hell? So and most of us on that level are essential workers, but then we get sick and then we fall by the wayside. That's not just Black people are predisposed to dying. No, all these other factors and situations made this storm possible. So when the media don't explain and take the lick and explain to everybody, because a lot of us Black people, we educate ourselves and we know this issue and we tell it to our kids, etc. But that global media you speak of that can be exposed in America right now is like, look, America, you've been effing up all these years, you've been leaving these smaller communities hanging, these poor communities hanging, these Black communities hanging. And look, when you get hit with something that no one can control, they're effed up because of what y'all left hanging. And that's an equity issue, and that's an information issue, that's an education issue, that's all of it, you know what I mean? So you can't leave one piece out. You can't blame us for our ignorance.
Calvin, I ain't seen that Joker since he went to go play G.I. Joe.
Well, G.I. Joe is the Army.
All the same to me.
So you can't explain how we found him with a fresh Delta crew tat?
Nah. You got any theories on who did Calvin?
Slow down, my man.
That's a double-edged sword, you know what I'm saying? Because I don't like, and that's what I've been wrestling with, is because like I have a bias, I want them to open up. At the same time, I can't ignore the news of, oh yeah, they're gonna have a second wave. Oh yeah, there's all these expected deaths. So I'm like, a part of me is, I don't want to rush back and put people in danger, because that's asinine. But I can't help but know, like, this is the only way I make my money. So I don't have a clear answer on it. Like, I guess the only answer I have is I want to open up as soon as makes sense.